good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today for our webinar, Drive CallXpress to its Full Potential. So just want to let you know as a quick intro, you may think that CallXpress is just a voicemail system, and we're actually here to tell you today that it's much more than that. We'll have Neil Butler presenting. He's our Director of Sales Engineering. And with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Neil.
Thank you very much, Ann. Good morning and or afternoon, everyone, depending on where you happen to be. I'd like to thank you for coming. It's always a little bit of a challenge for you to join these because your days tend to get a little exciting, and this is one of those things that can come off your schedule, so we really appreciate it when people show up. And then today's actually an interesting one for us because since the very founding of the company in the earliest days of the product, it's always been our goal to deliver a multi-application platform, and certainly voicemail was one of the very first things we did in call processing. We added fax, we've added various features over the year. And in the earliest days, we won a lot of business because of the flexibility of our voicemail and our call processing apps. We did a lot more than other systems did, and that was a good thing for people. They could take advantage of it and use it for business processes. We fell kind of into a slump in the middle of our history in the sense that what we became was a really good legacy voicemail replacement system, the best out there. We still do that business, and we're really happy about it. And we've still continually been adding more and more and more functionality to the system. So what we're starting to do now with this era is concentrate on what else you can do with the platform. And most of the attendees to this webinar are existing CallXpress customers. You have the platform, and what we want to do is let you know what you actually can do with it beyond the things you're doing now. And some of it's going to be obvious a little bit, I think, and some of it will probably be news to you. And hopefully what it'll do is spark a little interest in having a further conversation with us. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the CallXpress platform. You're going to see in a lot of our marketing materials and training materials as well, this kind of architecture picture we have here. We think it encapsulates where we're going with this product quite nicely on a very high level, but a good starting point. And what this is showing you is we've taken our applications and basically packaged them into 3 categories that we think are easy to understand, easy to talk about. So here we have the 3 application categories sitting on top of the core platform. And we talk about the core platform now in terms of interoperability, unified communications interoperability. What that core platform is going to let us do is deploy these other application silos in such a way that we can connect into your existing environment. So we're going to real quickly go through all 4 of these categories and sort of let you know the positioning that we're thinking about with this feature set. If you look at UC Mobile, that's sort of the new and interesting one that's gaining us a lot of press and recognition, of course. And we're going to talk in great detail about mobility in terms of not only what we offer, but what the industry is doing and probably what you're seeing in your company as well. Because we build these applications based on feedback from our existing customers. And hearing what you have to say is always important to us. The UC Voice category is sort of the home favorites. This is the legacy voicemail call processing piece, still very important to our business. We'll cover it very lightly, but most of you know this piece because most of you already have our voicemail system. So we'll always include it. It'll always be a key part of our business, but we're going to focus today more on the other categories in terms of you understanding the additional things you have beyond that basic voice functionality. The third category is a little different. It's UC Business Process. The first 2, UC Mobile and UC Voice, consist of applications we have written based on interface with customers, them telling us what they need, and there's a commonality in need that creates an application, and we build it. What's also out there, though, are unique needs. Every customer has something a little different that they really could benefit from. So UC Business Process is our category for talking about creating custom solutions for you. You might have something you need that's not in the core product, but can take advantage of that platform that you already have, and we'll talk about how to recognize those opportunities, what kind of things we can do, and then kind of the process for getting those taken care of. And then the last category, the platform itself, the interoperability piece, we'll talk about a little as well. It's just kind of, it brings up some interesting concepts when we talk to people about that basic platform and how these applications packages sit on top of it. So we lay this out like this. We're going to go through each one of these categories one at a time, and then at the end, we'll take any questions that you have in terms of all of this functionality. We'll start with UC Mobile. mostly because that's the most interesting and fun one right now to talk about. And the reason that is true is because that's the biggest set of challenges you're facing as well. Mobility is an interesting word in terms of it's meant various things over the course of our product's life. But right now, if we talk about mobility, I think it's recognition of the fact that not very many people sit at their desk all day and work anymore. There are certainly far less than ever before. Now, mobility may be something simple like you have a job where you spend half your day in meetings, in conference rooms around your building. People sometimes don't think of that as mobility, but for us, if you're away from your desk, you're away from your productivity tools. So the mobility focus is to deliver that productivity you lost from your desktop wherever you happen to be, and that might just be in the conference room up the hall. So we're going to talk about some really great apps we have now focused on that. Mobility could also be working at home. It could be working at home on a given day, or you might have home workers, teleworkers that work all the time at home. They're definitely mobile. There's some great things your platform can do to provide them more productivity and functionality. And then, of course, the traditional I am traveling mobile worker, which we've always focused on. We'll talk about all the new things we have in that category. So if we look at the feature set, and I want to caveat this carefully, this is not a package, an application package, so there isn't a license for the mobile worker feature set. This is functions that we support. These are solutions to problems we have, and we're going to talk about them. And later on, if there's an interest, we can talk about with people individually to talk about what pieces you'd need in your platform to support this. We're going to talk about the AVST Mobile client. That's kind of our new client that's out there that really takes a giant step forward in delivering that productivity and visual indications to the mobile worker. We'll talk a little bit about unified messaging. Not a lot, because we've done that for years, and I think most of you are probably comfortable with that. We'll talk about our personal assistant package, which is sort of the find me and follow me type package for mobile workers. Talk a little bit about our speech interface, because that's certainly focused at mobile people. We'll talk about single number reach and single number protection, some fairly new concepts in the workforce that are interesting to kind of factor into what you're doing. And we'll talk a little bit about notification, and then the other applications you're seeing there. All these are focused at mobile employees. And once again, most of them are focused at delivering the productivity to an employee who's mobile that they left when they walked away from their desk. That kind of virtual environment we can recreate using a speech rec interface, a small display screen, a web connection, all of that functionality to give you that productivity back. Now, we talk about being mobile. In the early days, being mobile meant you were away from your office, and basically when you got back at the end of the day, you got your little pink slips with messages, and that's kind of the only thing there was to offer. And then somewhere in the not too dim past, mobile phones came out, and now it's a lot better, because now you could be reached and you could reach out and touch your clients. So mobility became much easier with just a basic core mobile phone. But from then to now, there's been a revolution in terms of devices and technologies for mobile people. Certainly mobile phones were also augmented by web connections. So people started delivering really good web applications for mobile workers, so you could get into an internet cafe or even perhaps your computer at home, and you could get into all your various applications and once again reclaim that productivity. That's been a big piece. Mobile devices grew from the simple cell phone to the smartphones we have now, and they not only had great screens on them and great applications on them, but they had data connectivity, fairly wideband data connectivity that allowed a lot more functionality to be delivered to that phone. We're going to look at those in just a second. The hands-free interface that we've had for years now on our product, fantastic for those situations where you must be hands-free, eyes-free, primarily driving. I think we find people use that for. So if you're driving down the road, you can actually answer a incoming phone call and do it all with speech. You can make outgoing calls to people. You can listen to your messages, everything while keeping your hands on the wheel, meeting not only the safety requirements that you know are important, but most of the legal requirements as well. And then, of course, desktop clients when you're not connected to the internet. So think of cache mode for Exchange and things like that. The goal here is to build interfaces and let the user select the appropriate interface based on their circumstance. So almost every application we deliver supports all of these interfaces. So you can do all the things we offer no matter what device you choose as the appropriate device. Now, the latest and greatest new thing, of course, from us are our native mobile clients. We've delivered mobile applications through a browser before, and they were usable, but that screen real estate wasn't that good, and the functionality had to be limited based on that. But what we've done now is we've moved into the environment where we actually have written these applications that are applications that run natively on the devices themselves. So for either iPhones or Android devices, you can, with the right licensing on CallXpress, you can go up to the iTunes or the Android marketplace, and you can download our CallXpress application. And now we're offering a wealth of new functionality on a mobile device in easy-to-use, very intuitive clients. Just takes a second to download and configure it, and you get an extremely wide range of applications. Not just messaging. Messaging is a piece of it, of course, but much more than messaging. Great call management tools for incoming and outgoing calls. The single number reach and mobile number protection we'll talk about in a second. Visual call screening. All of these things now come in a nice, friendly client. And because it's written native on the device, it looks and works like the other applications on the device. So if you have an iPhone and you have iPhone apps and they have that look and feel, that's what you'd experience with the CallXpress application. Same for the Android application as well. There's no cost to download these, although you do need a personal assistant license on CallXpress to connect with them. But these are probably since our speech interface was deployed, probably the biggest gain in productivity for mobile people that we've offered in many, many years. So let's talk about visual call screening for inbound calls. This is kind of an interesting one. You certainly could have had a mobile phone, and you could have had your CallXpress mailbox set up to call you on your mobile phone. So somebody calls in, they ask for you, you're not there, and it calls you on your mobile phone. The problem has always been, and this is with everyone's system, is that outgoing call from CallXpress to the mobile phone lacks the ID of the caller. What it shows is the phone number that CallXpress is calling on. So what we wanted to do as the first step for inbound calls is give you that same ID you'd get. And not just the ANI, that's nice, but more than that, we wanted to augment that. So with incoming calls on the mobile client, when you get the little pop-up, if that person, that phone number they're calling on is in your contacts or they're a system user, you'll actually get the person's name as well as the phone number. So you'll know who the call is from, and now you can make that decision whether answering that call is more or less important than what you're currently doing. So you now get a pop-up. Now the way this works is the phone does not ring. We send something through the data channel, and the data channel creates the pop-up on your phone, which means you can be sitting in a meeting and screen your calls. Many of us spend many more hours than we like sitting in meetings every day, and we've already kind of mastered the putting the phone on our lap and being able to keep up with email, pretending no one can notice. Now you can do that with calls. So a call comes in, you can see who that call is, you can redirect that call, you can send it to somebody else, you can send it straight to voicemail, or you can accept it. And then you hit accept, you'll have about, I'm thinking 6 or 7 seconds before your phone rings, so you can step up, walk out of the meeting, and take that call. You can also record a brief acknowledgement message, just like you can with our speech interface. So if I hit acknowledge, a little button comes up, I push it, and I say, yeah, Jack, I'm in a meeting, I'll call you back as soon as I'm out, and you can go back to your meetings. So the whole visual call screening for managing those inbound calls through the data channel makes it usable in a much wider range of environments than you could if the phone had to ring. Outbound calls, same kind of functionality. Once you have this app on your mobile device, you can make outbound calls. Now we've separated the business from the personal in this application in a sense that you still have your phone book on your phone for your personal with all your friends and family and pizza place in it, but you'll have a separate directory, a complete separate application that has your business directory. And this will sync to your contacts from your voicemail or from your enterprise group-wise email, that kind of thing. It'll also sync to the system directory. So now when I want to make a call, I can either simply pick up the phone and dial it. You see the dialing pad up in the upper right. Or I can go into my directory, showing all my system users, press a button to make that call. Or I can go into my contacts or my address book and push a button, and now I'll see all my contacts, and I can make that call. Now what's going on when we make this call is we're actually sending a data signal from the phone across the data channel again to CallXpress. CallXpress immediately connects back to the mobile phone, makes the outgoing call, and bridges that call through CallXpress. So that's part of that separation between personal and business. And now the fact that that call is connected that way will actually let us talk about some new features in the next couple of slides that are very handy in the business environment. Making outgoing calls, very easy to do with the mobile client. what I want to talk about briefly are some of the features that we have in this also include the ability to hide that number for the outgoing call. So basically what happens is I place an outgoing call, and remember it's being made through CallXpress, so the incoming, or the recipient of that outgoing call that I just made does not see my mobile phone number. What they see is the CallXpress phone number. And so what I've done is successfully hide my mobile number, and that's called mobile number protection. The reason you want to do that is once they capture your mobile number, you are at their mercy. Now your customers, your coworkers have your mobile number, and they know to call you directly at that number all the time. And now you have a problem, once again, sitting in meetings and things like that, where you're limited in how you can use your phone. By protecting that outgoing call, what you end up with instead is the ability to control those incoming calls. They're going to come through the system where you'll have your rules engine on, and you can say whether you're ready to take calls or not. So mobile number protection is a direct result of this way of placing outbound calls. So the mobility piece, fantastic set of features. I'm guessing very few of you have any of those deployed. Some of those, like the mobile clients that we talked about, require the latest and greatest version of software. The personal assistant for the mobility people has been out there in a number of versions of software. All of those things will benefit your mobile workers. They'll make them more productive, more responsive, and once you have the CallXpress platform, the cost for adding those is very, very trivial. So this is one of those areas where if any of this looks like it's something you could deploy for your mobile workers, what we suggest is you get in touch with your dealer and let them just come out and give you kind of a more extended presentation than this one. So now let's move on, and we're going to kind of cover the more generic piece, the voicemail piece. We'll cover this kind of quickly. Most of you have that. We certainly want to make sure you know all the features that are in there. It's still a very important core piece of our product. And what's within here as well is our architecture. And our architecture is one of the pieces that's made us so successful, particularly in handling multiple site customers. Now, you certainly can deploy a CallXpress on a single physical server, up to 96 ports, and have all the functionality that we've talked about. But there are times when it's beneficial to have multiple servers. Even within a single site, to deploy CallXpress on multiple servers gives you a great bit of survivability. You can put in a system control server and one or more call servers, and now if a server fails, you still have a functional system. Depending on what component fails, you lose various parts, but always the ability can be there to answer incoming calls and take messages. So survivability at the local site. Now the other thing this same architecture lets us do is deploy a single CallXpress system across multiple sites. So those of you that have 2 or 3 sites and you're maybe contemplating collapsing down into a single IP kind of network, or you just would like to reduce your costs for maintenance, you have some old out-of-service time voicemails you know you have to get rid of. If you already have a CallXpress, you don't have to buy a new CallXpress. You can add some ports to it and deploy one of the call servers at the other location. As long as you have reasonable data connectivity between those sites, then you can go ahead and deploy multiple call servers on multiple sites, but they're all still a single system. They're maintained from the single client, and all the users have the same features, and basically much less expensive than maintaining multiple sites. This same architecture can be extended even further in an environment where continuous uptime is critical to your business. You can actually deploy multiple call servers at each site so that no one call server failure takes you out of business, and even an active passive pair of system servers. And in this environment, the active system server continuously upgrades the passive server, and in the event of the failure of the active server, the passive server steps in automatically and keeps everything running. So for the kind of high availability that a lot of customers really want, particularly automatic high availability, this architecture is ideal for that. And I guess the last step in that kind of growing progression of what you can do is you also could deploy a third passive system server at a remote site and have true geographic redundancy. So if you lost the entire main site of your business and you have a business plan that says, if that happens, I need, my corporate mandate is everything still works. I still have telephony, routing, incoming calls. I still have access to my important data applications. I still have workers somewhere who can answer the phone and carry on business. Then this particular architecture lets you deploy that kind of geographic redundancy. Once again, any mixture of these call servers and system servers is available. It's just a matter of what you're looking for. So this highly resilient platform Basically, you have to be up to at least CallXpress 8.0 to start deploying this, but still, the availability of having always up for most businesses is pretty important. And then we talked a little bit about that consolidation, that centralization. There's a big drive for this. Most of you probably have already either started or finished consolidating your data network, whereas you might have had 3 email systems before and 4 versions of some applications scattered. What you've slowly done is built a data center and probably a backup data center, and then you've centralized your Exchange and your SQL records for your sales tools and all of that. And now you're looking at doing the same thing in the telephony world. You may not be ready to do a complete rip and replace and take out all your phone systems everywhere. So what you can now do is, at those sites, start deploying call servers to centralize your messaging and your call processing. And then when you're ready, you can go ahead and deploy the VoIP infrastructure and collapse those servers back down. Now, this next category is very interesting, and it's a little more complex to talk about. And the reason is, it's not a packaged software product. I can't tell you anything about the features in this category, because this category is really talking about tools. CallXpress is unique in that it not only runs the applications we've discussed, but it has a complete set of tools for building custom applications to run on the same platform and leverage all the same resources. So if you have a CallXpress and it's sitting there and it's connected to your PBX, these applications we're talking about are software applications that you build or we build. We have third-party people that build them as well, and you install them on your existing CallXpress, and further leveraging that investment in CallXpress, and you now can solve very unique issues, so unique in your business that no one else is unlikely to write a shrink-wrapped application to solve it. So what we have is a nice set of tools. We have an open development framework that includes a business process access engine and a set of web services. We'll talk about kind of what the capabilities of both of those are. And those can be used for all sorts of applications. Information access and delivery, click-to-call from your corporate website or one of your portals, special outbound notification services, custom admin clients to let maybe users touch a specific piece of admin that the normal tool wouldn't let them use. So almost anything you can think of having to do with how CallXpress works or accessing information can be built using these tools. So we have 2 basic tools. We have UC Connect. UC Connect basically runs on the CallXpress system, and what it does, it lets you create third-party applications that run on CallXpress, and those applications have full access to all the functions of CallXpress. In other words, they can make calls, they can receive calls, they can access the message database, they can make outgoing calls and deliver information. A very powerful kind of an IVR core with a lot more functionality layered on top of it. So that's one set of development tools. And the other set of development tools is for applications that you would write that run on your servers that want to access CallXpress and leverage those functions. So think of the ability to, on a corporate website, add a tab where your users, your subscribers, could get to their voicemail messages, or a click-to-call function in one of your applications where when they brought up a screen, it had a phone number, you could highlight it, and a little drop-down would say call, and then it would use the CallXpress resources to do that. So powerful tools for building custom applications. Now, the value of these is harder to see because I can't give you a list of things to think about. We can have meetings later where we talk about within certain verticals what people have found helpful, but this is more of you be aware of it, so when you see the problem, you think, perhaps this is something we could solve with the extensible CallXpress platform. Information access is kind of a fairly easy one to talk about some generic samples within the various verticals. This is, I can call in on a phone, launch one of those applications, and now I can access data within your organization, manipulate it, read it back to the caller, etc. So I can take orders, I can read back statuses of various things. I have access to any kind of information within your firewall as you write this application. I can make outgoing calls as well. So incoming calls, outgoing calls, access to information with all the tools. So a very powerful tool for you to just keep in the back of your mind, and when you're sitting in a meeting and somebody says, man, I really wish that this particular type of customer who, we get 300 calls a day of this type where the customer is asking for this one piece of information. I wish we could automate it. You don't have to go out and do a big RFP and buy a whole separate system. You can simply get a custom application created that runs on CallXpress. As an example of that, we actually have written some applications that are written with this set of tools and are available that we sell because they're common enough. One of them is NotifyXpress. Some of you might have that. NotifyXpress uses the resources on CallXpress for outgoing call campaigns. It has an admin client, and you build basically a list of people you would like to call, what their phone number is, and what message or information you want delivered to them. And then you set a timer, and at a certain time, the application kicks off and starts calling the people on this list, delivering the information. Now, it's not like just one message goes to everyone. You notice the little script there. It says, name, you currently have an appointment scheduled for a specific date. To confirm your appointment, press 1, or to speak with a live attendant, press 2. So it's unique information for each number that you call that can be delivered. So appointment reminders is a very, very popular piece. A notification of event changes, all sorts of things. And this can either be a fairly large application where you'd add extra ports to your CallXpress to do it, or this should be some casual application like reporting absenteeism to parents within a school district, something along those lines. So very easy to do. Now, this is an example of people ask enough times for a custom solutions that we were actually able to build a shrink-wrapped version. So you can take this version as it is. Now, if you look at this version and say, oh, this is good, but I also have some needs outside of this, then you start with that version and you work with our professional services people to add whatever functionality you'd want. So outgoing notification through NotifyXpress. Now, the web features piece as well. Anything within our admin client or our call engine or our messaging engine can be accessed with these web services, so you can write applications that can make use of those features. So it could be as simple as in your portal for your users, you write a little application that when they every month have to go in and change their major password for access to your enterprise, on that same screen they can change their voicemail password. Or it could be click to call, as we discussed. Or you might want a small admin application, maybe something that would run on your iPhone or your Android phone, that when you're out in the field, out wandering around, and somebody calls and needs a mailbox reset, rather than getting to a regular client, you could have a little mini application built that does that. So very powerful access to CallXpress through a web services piece. So the UC business process is not something we want to come out and sell you today. What it is a concept we want you to get in your mind, so that when you sit in a meeting and problems come up, communications problems, you start thinking in terms of what else you can do with the CallXpress platform. You already have that platform leveraging. It's just a good idea business-wise. Now, all three of these categories run on top of the basic platform. What's made us so successful in this business is the flexibility and interoperability of that platform. So if we look at that platform, even in this picture, what we see is everything that we build runs on top of a core platform. And that core platform has add-in modules to let us connect to things. We connect to our internal things, like our message database and our admin database, but we're just as good at connecting to external things, like an email system for unified messaging, certainly a telephone system for integration, your Oracle database for a custom business process. All of that functionality is key in the interoperability piece. Now, this chart is just kind of listing some of the things we already connect to and some of the things we're working on currently. So the little silver stars next to something mean it's under work right now. It actually hasn't been delivered yet. And then certainly on the far right side, the corporate database applications, those are all available through our connectivity tools. This is just a small sampling. There's very little we can't connect to. So almost anything that's extensible via data connection of any type, we can use in our platform. Some of those we use. We look at the integrations, the telephony integrations on the far left. There's not a system out there that I know of that we don't integrate with right now. Multiple systems, multiple instances, older versions of software, brand new IP systems, we do all of that. Certainly on the collaboration software, the email piece, we integrate with all of the major email players. We're working right now on the instant messaging integration. Actually, the Lync piece is, I think it's out of beta already and ready to go. I'll show you a slide on that in a second. And then anything else that's kind of popular out there, people have us looking at to do various functions. It might be a custom function for someone, or it might be a new feature that's coming in the product. Interoperability is key in today's unified communications world because while you can rip out everything you have and put a suite in of applications from some vendor, all of those suites will kind of not be best of breed in any of the components themselves. They sell it on being easier. Instead, extensibility is the way to go. Make your product so it can connect to anything out there, and then you can deliver that best-of-breed solution at the same time. A good example of this is what we're just releasing now with our integration to Microsoft OCS or Lync. Now, there's a lot of talk in the world about moving to these kind of systems as your primary communication system, and maybe that'll happen someday, but what's happening right now is people are deploying OCS and Lync for instant messaging. It's a very good client for that, very powerful client. It also happens to have a soft phone, a SIP phone built into that client, and people would like to use that SIP phone. Now, by default, if you're set up right, you can use that from OCS client to OCS client, a pure data-to-data connection, and that's helpful sometimes. But most of us have phone calls that must involve going out on the public network. So getting those calls out on the public network can be very complex. If you go to the normal connectors for the phone systems and what Microsoft offers with gateways, very complex to deliver that functionality. But if you already have a CallXpress, you can simply add a SIP trunk between your CallXpress and your Lync server. And what that does is that enables the soft phone in Lync or OCS to make and receive phone calls across the public network. So I could go into my PBX, let's say I have find me, follow me rules, and they say for my rule called at work, when an incoming call comes in, first try me on my OCS client, and then if not, try me on my mobile phone. So it becomes a device in my device list. So routing incoming calls, call comes into the PBX, we already have an integration to the PBX, and we're that bridging point connecting it to Microsoft Lync. Likewise, I can go to my OCS client and type an external number and dial it, and what will happen is that will go out through Lync, through the SIP connection to CallXpress, bridge through your PBX with whatever integration you have, and on out on the public network. Now, what's interesting is that can be a very old PBX. That doesn't have to be the very latest and greatest IP-enabled software. I mean, we have people using this with Roam PBXs still, and certainly any version of the Avaya software, any version of Nortel, Mitel, anything you have. So we, because of our extensibility, serve as that bridging point. And that's part of the interoperability story that we like to tell because that's what we do. We connect various pieces together to enhance communication services. We really have a very broad reach in the market. And part of that is our history because we certainly started out a long time ago doing this, over 25 years, and we've been in that market from the smallest space to the largest space that whole time. What we've had to do in the last few years is sort of segment that business. And the reason is the needs of a small business in terms of functionality are actually not very different than the needs of a large business. They want a speech interface. Smaller customers would also like to have those mobile clients, and all that functionality helps the small business be competitive. But the problem is it can't always be deployed on the same kind and structure of platform economically. So what we've just done is we've taken and partitioned the CallXpress system into a special system to be delivered at a single premise level. It has all the functionality we've just talked about, but it's packaged in such a way, economically, it makes more sense. If you look at the CXS, our small medium business solution, it has all the applications we've talked about today, with the exception of the multiple server functionality. This is not where you're going to deploy it on multiple servers. This is a single rack mount server. You can see the specs for the Dell server on the right. And it's loaded up with licenses for everything. So when you buy this system, you buy it based on users and ports. So I have a 100 user system, let's say. That system will include licenses for those 100 users for everything that we have in the way of those features listed on the left. So certainly voicemail, automated attendant, all of that. The speech interface fully deployed, personal assistant for everyone, unified messaging for everyone, mobile clients for everyone. Makes it very easy for a smaller business to step into this without having to worry about all the configuration issues of trying to figure out how to do it. And it has a very attractive price. So just something that we talk about in terms of our platform level that we're doing to make the product even more desirable in a wider range of the market than we already serve.
Neil, there were several questions on the UC Mobile piece, so we'll start with that. Will AVST add Windows Phone and or BlackBerry in the future for the mobile client?
This is one of those market-driven kind of things. We actually started including a BlackBerry client, got it fairly far down the road, and their APIs weren't as rich as we needed for some of the functionality. And when we went to them directly, they seemed a little shaky in terms of what they wanted to support going forward. They're a company in transition, and they're not really sure what they're going to do in their next couple of releases. So that one's on hold right now. May or may not happen, just depending on what they do in the market. The Windows Mobile phone is very interesting to us, but honestly, the market share is still far too low for us to spend the kind of money that we would need to do to deploy it. They're doing some interesting things. We may see that, in the course of the first part of this year, that changes. And certainly, as soon as that has a market presence, we'll be right on top of deploying that application on that device as well.
Okay, and so again on UC Mobile, if you have a license for Personal Assistant, does this mean you can have unlimited downloads of the mobile app?
Well, a license for Personal Assistant is assigned to a user, and that user can then go download the mobile app. And actually, anybody can download it. It's free. It's out on the marketplace. But a user, in order to connect that mobile app to their mailbox, they must have a Personal Assistant license assigned to their mailbox.
And it may be the question is asking for a particular user if they can download it on multiple devices?
Yeah, it could be, and yes, you can. I have it on 3 or 4 devices. You have to do some changing. What you do is create different devices for your different phones, so it's a little more of a challenge to configure how that works. But yes, Personal Assistant, you can connect to all your devices.
Okay. And next, does UC Mobile have GPS capabilities to track where other users are?
Oh, Big Brother type stuff. So no. The phone has GPS capabilities, however, and that brings up an interesting question. Why would you route a call to your desktop when your mobile phone tells us that you're not in your office? And we'll be talking about that in our next software release 8.5, where one of the rules for routing calls will allow you to take advantage of your position from your GPS phone, but not in the current software today.
Okay, next question. When placing an outgoing call using UC Mobile, is the call using your provider minutes, or can it be configured to use the 3G or 4G Wi-Fi connection?
That was a very interesting topic for us as we designed this and we started looking. I suspect in future versions we will move to the data connection. But what we found is the number of minutes in a day where you are somewhere where you'd want to use your mobile. You probably aren't going to use it sitting in your office where you have your office phone. So it's mostly when you're out and about. The number of minutes where you have a decent enough connection to carry a good voice conversation is still a little bit low. So the way this works is the data connectivity goes across and tells CallXpress to initiate the call, and then that call is received by the mobile device as an incoming call. Now, depending on your carrier plan and where you are, and this varies widely throughout the world, incoming calls may use minutes or they may not, but we definitely are connecting that voice to the mobile phone through the normal voice channel.
Okay, and so a follow-on question on this same topic. So you just covered that you are incurring usage for the minutes on your mobile device. It says, actually, let me just read this so I don't miss the point here. When you call through the app, does it incur usage for minutes on the mobile device, or just the cost associated with the usage going on the ports on CallXpress?
No, so it will generate minutes, incoming minutes on your device. If you're being billed for incoming minutes on your device, then yes, it's generating a charge.
Okay. Let's see. Sorry, there's several questions coming in here. Did you mention that the call would be silent when delivered via iPhone on the UC Mobile client? Is it silent or does it actually ring?
So the way this works is the date of notification can be silent, so you get the little pop-up screen, or you can have it vibrate. And then when you say, no, I want this call, when CallXpress sends the call to you, it's a normal incoming call, however you have your phone set up. If it's set up to ring, it's going to ring.
Okay. Looks like one more on UC Mobile, unless a few more come in. Can you comment on the role of dual persona mobile devices and AVST support for bring your own device?
Two interesting topics. So the dual persona devices, from our point of view, It doesn't come up yet because we only support the iPhone and the Android. Could this application be ported over to some of the other vendors' dual devices? Yes. We've had initial conversations. It's not going anywhere yet. So I wouldn't expect to see that kind of support in the very near future. And in terms of the bring your own device, from our point of view, that's what's driving all of this. The fact that people are buying more and more devices, and this goes back to our Windows mobile phone, BlackBerry phone. The more market share a phone gets, the more people are bringing them in, the more likely we are to build the interfaces for them.
Okay, looks like there's a couple of questions regarding UC Business Process. Can you comment on the impact to traditional IVR apps?
So the impact, if they're asking the impact on the system, we certainly can write traditional IVR apps with this. We have a lot more capabilities than that, but it is something we can do. And the impact really has to do with the application. If you want to, let's say you have a 24-port CallXpress and you decide, you have a place where you're getting calls into a center where people are asking for the status of their order and you want to automate that, we would have to look at how many calls are coming in now, how many, simultaneous calls are coming into that help desk or wherever it's going. And then you'd have to look at your CallXpress and run a report to see how busy the ports you have are already. So there might be the kind of impact where you have to add additional ports, and there might not. It's just going to depend on the application itself.
Okay, and actually just a short question here on IVR. What markup language is used for IVR applications?
So our tool for building the applications that run on CallXpress is an add-in to Visual Studio. So the language you use is any language supported by Visual Studio. So you want to write them in C#, C++, Java Sharp, any of those languages that are supported in the Visual Studio development environment can be used to write the applications for CallXpress.
Okay, and a couple questions on the intelligent gateway for Lync. Let's see here. Sorry, I just scrolled down here. Here we go. Can the intelligent gateway be used to facilitate remote call control of an endpoint provisioned on the PBX, enabling click-to-call functionality?
So there's a couple of things going on there. Our web services could build click-to-call. If you wanted that call to be driven off your device that is the OCS phone, then yes, but by itself, the gateway doesn't give you that capability. All that gateway does by itself in the version it's in today is allow you to make incoming and outgoing calls from that client directly.
Okay, and regarding providing presence services to OCS and Lync, are we handling the call control on the gateway?
So the call control goes through the gateway, yes. And in terms of I don't understand the presence reference there, but in terms of the mediation server piece is involved. That's got to do with, for the outgoing calls, the number translation piece of it is all controlled there, and then the SIP gateway directly into the server runs through that as well.
Okay, another question on UC Mobile actually here. Are the UC Mobile calls susceptible to call reporting on the PBX?
So the way that's going to work is if I make a UC Mobile call, it's going to come in through the SIP gateway and go out through the connection to the PBX. That outgoing PBX, like all cases for calls made by CallXpress, will be in the telephony system reports. What you'll have to do is combine them with the CallXpress reports to break that down in terms of what extension or mailbox is associated with that call. So while that can be done, that's not going to be an automatic process.
Okay, another question. Can you use a generic SIP phone on your smartphone over a Wi-Fi network?
I don't see how that has anything to do with CallXpress at all.
We'll take that one offline, maybe.
Yeah.
We may need more information about what
I'm not
the
understanding what they're trying to accomplish.
Okay. Let's see. You mentioned one-number dialing. How is that different than personal assistant? So if the personal assistant is set up for 3 numbers, and then each device the caller must dial. I'm not sure I understand this question either. Hopefully you do.
No, I don't. Let's get some more information, and we'll do that one offline as well.
I'd like to thank you again for joining us. You are always welcome to type your questions into us, submit them via email if you're not able to get a hold of your sales rep. you can email us at info@avst.com, and we'll make sure that that gets to the right person. Neil, did you want to leave us with any closing words?
Once again, I want to thank everybody for putting the time in here. I know that's hard in the middle of your business day. Hopefully you got some value out of this. Our goal here really is we have, 50,000 customers with CallXpresses out there, and none of them are using everything that system can do, nor would we really expect them to. But I think most customers, with a good knowledge of all the things that are now available on that platform, could extend what they're doing with the platform and solve some more business problems. That's really what our goal is, to give you the information to evaluate that possibility.
Okay. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing you on another webinar in the future. Have a good day.
Bye.